Hello, my dear listeners. My name is Kishore Ganesh, and in this episode of the Vocal About Visuals podcast, I'll be reviewing the brand new Hercule Poirot movie from Sir Kenneth Branagh, by the way, A Haunting in Venice. Branagh also stars as a titular Poirot along with an excellent Tina Fey, Kelly Reilly, Michelle Yeoh, Jamie Dornan, Jude Hill, Camille Cottin, and Emma Laird, among others. The film is written by Michael Green and is based on the universe created by the Queen of Crime, that is, Agatha Christie. A Haunting in Venice is very interesting as a movie production itself, above and beyond the plot of the film. In a way, it is similar to another British movie from another world famous British IP. Any guesses? Please do test them against my options, which I shall reveal now. The British movie is The Prisoner of Azkaban, and the British IP, of course, is Harry Potter. The similarity that I'm going for is that compared to the first two films of the HP franchise, which were very faithful representations of the books, the third one was more cinematic, with creative changes being made to make the story more cinematic. And the same thing happens in Kenneth Branagh's take on Hercule Poirot as well. The first two films of this franchise were faithful adaptations of the books, but this third one is practically a separate entity altogether. A lot of creative liberties, a lot of characters added, several removed, many changed. But Hercule Poirot and his little grey cells, which don't get mentioned even once, I think, remain the same. The makers have gone for a supernatural mystery almost, which, if you think about it, is an antithesis to Poirot, or for that matter, any detective worth his salt. Logic is in direct conflict with supernatural phenomena, so the juxtaposition of these two elements in a film is always fun. It adds another layer, sometimes another test to the detective, and here too, a similar approach is adopted. Of course, I'm not going to spoil anything at all, so you can rest easy, my dear listener. I'm going to be intentionally vague as I normally am in my non spoiler reviews. Ah, yes, coming back to the film, even if one has read The Halloween Party, the Agatha Christie novel on which this movie is based on, this movie will still be its own thing and can be appreciated as such. The writing is excellent from Michael Green, and Branagh manages to create a proper ghost story vibe, that all important atmosphere that is necessary for any horror movie right from the get go. But what I felt was very impressive was that he managed to do that in Venice of all places, a place which doesn't really evoke any ghostly or haunted feels in me. The atmosphere actually was very similar to what Christie would evoke in her tales set in Britain, or for that matter, what many British writers managed to evoke in their novels and stories. But in this film, it is that British atmosphere, but in Venice. I'm going to underline this with maybe there are a lot of tales of Venetian horror out there, and I have not come across them. That's possible too, I admit. Now, coming to the performances, actually, I'm going to start right from the casting of this film in relation to the performances. The casting is excellent. Tina Fey as Ariadne Oliver, especially, is a superb piece of casting. The fact that she's a real life writer, comedian, and an all out witty woman play very well with Ariadne's representation in Christie's books. All the other actors are rather excellent too. In fact, Branagh is the only actor I thought who could have been more dramatic, which in turn would have improved his performance because Poirot's character kind of demands it. Sad or happy, shattered or ecstatic, Poirot is always an extroverted, extravagant character. So the subtlety didn't really work for me. Overall, I should say that A Haunting in Venice is a very well made atmospheric movie that is not about superheroes or aliens or sorcerers or something. It has good old fashioned warm blooded human beings sorting out things, and that's very welcome. It's a fun mystery film that mystery fans and Agatha Christie nerds, like yours truly, will lap up, but I have a feeling Irrespective of your genre tastes, this film is likely to satiate your craving. If what you're craving for is a fun European period mystery with some top notch acting. That's the end of the review. But before I end this pod, I do want to register one annoying thing that did come up in this film. So, spoilers up ahead, you have been warned. If you haven't watched the film, stop this pod right here, watch it, and come back and give the rest of it a listen. But if you don't really care about this, let's continue, shall we? So, in the film, in one scene, one character passes a rather judgmental statement to another character, saying something along the lines of, "So you broke off your engagement and you broke her heart, all because a woman made you feel small." Now, this statement is made to sound like it is targeting the quote unquote fragile male ego. But the problem is that the character that this statement is aimed at, their reasoning for their action is down to a very valid reason that is perhaps grounded in the choice to covet their mental peace, happiness, and the need to perhaps have the love of their life prioritize them more than that character's mother, a bit more than the obvious romantic love they have for that other person. I mean, this quote unquote other person wanted to chase after their mother to a whole other country because the mother just couldn't handle her daughter getting married. And the character at whom the accusation is aimed at just says something along the lines of, "Sometimes when you marry a woman, you get the mother too." And I just couldn't have that. I mean, what's wrong with being put off with this kind of an arrangement? It is to this statement that the accusation comes as a reply. But more importantly, why bring in this angle of a woman making you feel small? I also think this accusation will become especially problematic once you complete the viewing of the film. Now, all I have to say is that anyone prioritizing their happiness and more importantly their mental health or their self worth is, dare I say it, not the same as having a fragile ego. Bad call, Michael Green and Kenneth Branagh. Bad call. Once again, my name is Kishore Ganesh. This is the Vocal About Visuals podcast, and thank you, my dear listeners, for your time and for listening. Please do give this podcast a follow on your preferred podcast platforms and on YouTube. You can also follow me on Threads, Twitter, and Instagram at Podcast Plural. Thank you.